Welcome back, my wonderful listeners, to the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. Today's episode isn't an easy one, but it's one that must be told. We're peeling back the curtain on a topic that still shapes careers and divides classrooms. Native versus non-native teachers. Why are schools still advertising for young and attractive native speakers? Why are brilliant educators being paid less because of their passport? And perhaps, the hardest questions of all, why do so many teachers, no matter how hard they work, still feel like they are never enough? In this honest conversation, Anna, my great guest, and I explore discrimination, cultural obsession with the ideal foreigner, and what it means to reclaim dignity in teaching. This isn't about taking sides. It's about telling the truth, because only when we face the truth can we change the system. So as I always say, sit down comfortably, grab yourself a coffee. Let's welcome my great friend, Anna, wonderful teacher, and let's get started.
Woo! Let's go!
Cool, Anna.
I love
Awesome.
how your voice changes. You just, a podcast voice. No, that's
we
actually
are.
quite sweet. Here we are.
Welcome back to the podcast. We're already
Welcome
here
back
with
to the
another
podcast.
wonderful teacher.
Mhm.
Yes, I need to actually, I need to put my voice in a really good
It's
tone.
okay. I'm sorry, I was not meant to put you on the spot on this regarding your voice and everything.
Something that you do, it's something that my students also do.
Really?
They all do that because every time I actually go to the classroom, I always come out with weird voices. It's like, hello, everybody. And it's like, okay, the soldier's here. It's like, hey, what's up? All right, the ghetto is here.
Oh, the ghetto's here.
The
Right.
ghetto's here, yeah. All right, then. So, Anna, so we got actually the last time we were talking about these biases and all these problems actually that we actually had with these ads, talking about natives and non-natives and the accent and this and that, if you're white, if you're black. But now we got to keep talking and a little bit more about that. Would you like to share something? Do you have any story in the back that you would like to come up with? Or would you like me to tell you one and then we can just keep going?
Oh, please do. Do you have a story?
Many.
Many. Oh,
The
my.
problem is that I don't have not even one positive. So I think this episode is mostly negative because I cannot actually find something positive in this thing. And it's really hard actually to find it.
There is none, right? There's nothing positive. And that's what
No.
I keep on talking about this. And I say, like, this is for all of us, that's
Yeah.
not only restricted to non-native teachers, like
Yeah.
people say, well, you're an advocate for non-natives, and I say, no, I'm an advocate for a teacher, for like the profession.
True.
That's something that all of us, we all need this honest conversation in the industry, to help us realize that this is the place that we have found ourselves, and it's time to change things somehow.
Earlier you shared something with me that you were talking to all the native speakers there. What happened with
that's
them?
an interesting bit. Yeah. We usually, quite often we have this conversation in our communities, and I had a conversation with my native colleague, and they
Where
told
is
me
she
a funny
from, by the way?
thing. She was American. And she was like, well, she has these strong values and strong compass, and we got to talking about this non-native native debate, and she was like, she's a professional teacher, She does have a master's degree and bachelor's degrees in every possible qualification you might have in teaching. And she says, like, I'm honestly annoyed that schools use my picture as a white American woman and my name to advertise the services, saying like, hey, she's a native speaker. And she was like, what about all my qualifications? What about all the years that I have studied?
Hold on a second. Where is she? Where is she working now?
She's working in one of the European schools. And they are kind of, like advertising her. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know. But it's not, technically it's not illegal to advertise your school using someone's name and using someone's picture and just saying, hey, we've got native speaker teachers. It's a legal practice to advertise a job vacancy, a job posting, asking for a particular race or ethnicity or passport. But it's not, when it comes to marketing, there's very little that is, there are no boundaries basically. So she was very angry about this. She said, like, I'm not an advertising token for a school. You cannot just take my name. You cannot just put my picture out there and say, hey, we have
Look
this.
at the American.
Like, ooh,
look at the
wow.
American. Yeah,
I mean,
she comes from LA.
Yeah, exactly. She has white hair and blue eyes. Look at her. Wow.
Yeah. You know what? But I would actually think that this has to be like a practice that can happen actually back in South America or Central America or in Asia. Because I mean, you know what? The native speakers are the ones who are like blonde, tall, blue eyes, green eyes, perfect. And British pronunciation, by the way. So here's the thing, I would have actually thought that these kind of practices are actually in those type of places. I don't want to sound judgmental or something like it, but it actually happens even in countries where being blonde, tall, white, blue eyes is the normal. Like in Russia. It happened to me.
Really?
Exactly the same thing that actually happened to you. To your friend. It happened to me when I was actually working in Neftekamsk in Bashkortostan Republic.
Right.
Yes. Did I sound good there? Is my Russian okay? So I went there, and then I remember this institute that just put my picture, a gigantic picture of me over there. That I was like, wow, don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
That was terrible. Oh my goodness. It was like, come on. But it happened. But in that time, I didn't actually see it as something negative. Until
No, I mean, you take pride in that, don't you? I think at the beginning you kind of go like, wow. I mean, wow, they recognize
they love me.
Yeah, they love me, and then only later do you understand that it's kind of they love only one part of you and they don't particularly care for your qualification or your experience. They just love that you are blonde and blue-eyed and everything at
Yes.
all. But that's I think that's something that you mentioned with we do have an interesting situation in Russia. It's just like Soviet Union and Russia was, it was a closed country for so many years, and we do have a sort of an obsession with foreigners, like being a foreigner.
Yes.
And more than anything, being an American or being British seemed to be a kind of, like
the next level stuff. Yeah, the next level stuff. You're the god. Something like it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Different, wow. And I think it happens with in a lot of cultures where people grow up in a more homogeneous environment, when everyone looks the same as you do.
Yes.
Then seeing someone who is different is kind of like, wow. Kind of, wow,
but
okay, I took your picture.
I don't actually see myself too different.
I know, but just put your name out there, and put in
I actually think like something like something from the south or southeast Russia that I actually look like a southeastern Russian sometime. Yeah,
that's true. But
I
it's
just
the
don't
fact
get
that
it.
you're different. No, but there are small things that they give you out. They kind of, and we are very sensitive to these, like who is a foreigner, and then like, wow, a foreigner here among us.
Let me tell you a story that it was very shocking to me when I was living in Neftekamsk for a little time. Really beautiful town. I love that town. Really beautiful town. Lovely people.
Okay. You say
Uh,
so.
yeah, I like it.
Never been there. Okay, but okay. Is it a small city
Bashkortostan
or a big one?
it's a small city. It's not even the
Mm-hmm.
capital city because the
Mm-hmm.
capital city is Ufa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just went there, and then suddenly I remember I will never forget this because it was the first time actually I was experiencing something like it. And suddenly I went to the bank because I had to do this process to open up the banking, the account, and all that. Suddenly I just
Mm-hmm.
go over there, and one of the teachers there, the local teacher, just came with me. Little did I know that when I was actually just coming into the bank, everybody was like, "Who's that? He's not from
Who's the
here.
guy?
Who's that guy?"
Exactly. That's what I was talking about. We
And
do have these antennas telling us,
yeah,
wow, a foreigner among us. Right.
but
Ooh.
shockingly, there was an old lady. I would say like she might be like around 70 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly she looked at me and couldn't stop staring, but that awkward staring, like
Mm-hmm.
the big eyes, like a cartoonish way and all that. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I just started and I'm like, hey, hello. And then she
Now
just
I know
came
what
to
it feels
me.
like.
She shook my hand. Yeah, she shook my hand. And then she started talking to me in Russian. At that time, I didn't know anything about Russian. And then I just asked my colleague, was like, hey, what is she saying? She's like, she's very happy because she thought she was gonna die without meeting a foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! I was like,
No, well, as I've explained it to you, we do have this strange obsession with foreigners, and I blame our Soviet past for that.
yes.
Um, I kind of know what it feels like. I've been traveling to India, and we were in one of these remote areas and villages, and they've
Mm.
never seen a white woman in their life, and they started taking
Oh yeah,
pictures of
yeah, yeah,
me.
yeah. Of you, yeah,
And I was like,
definitely.
I mean, that the first time I'm flattered, you just want to take a picture of me. I
Okay,
mean, okay, with
but
your
then
child,
suddenly
fine. But then, it just
you
gets
start
a
bringing the
bit too
family.
much, isn't it?
Hey,
Exactly. Just
grandma, grandpa,
come have
come
a look
here,
at the
everybody.
white girl here, like, ooh, look at her skin.
I know
Ooh,
the feeling. I totally know the feeling. Yes,
I don't know.
exactly.
And it's like, oh, well, but it's kind of on the cultural level, I might
Mm,
understand it as a this cute quirk of a culture. But when we talk about, hiring practices, that
mhm.
someone is given the job on their looks, on the color of
Exactly.
the skin, that stops being so funny. I mean, I don't know.
But
It
here's what
just
we're actually comparing this, because
hmm
we have something that actually happened culturally speaking, people
hmm
in their own country because of their own history, they've been actually kind of locked up and they haven't been able actually to see the world outside. So I
hmm
it's totally understandable and I totally respect it and I even feel it, you know.
hmm
So kind of empathetic about those type of things. But then suddenly you go to the market and then you see that people that it's supposed to be knowledgeable, that's supposed to be like that type of people that wow, they're very well educated and they can actually advertise in a really good way, educators and teachers and blah blah blah. And suddenly, no,
hmm
they just take those type of things and they just put it there, like in the market.
hmm
White woman, white teacher, young, blonde,
American, right?
American. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But- And this is the question. Tell me how an American looks like.
That's a good question. If I knew, but I think it's tied to what we were discussing. It's like using the term native speaker in the job advertisement. It just, you do have this image, this perfect image
Yes.
of a native speaker, and it doesn't really, it has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing
Mhm.
to do with language proficiency. It's just this ideal that everyone wants. And that's the craziest part because I do know, and we've talked about this, like there are native speakers who do not, they do not reach this ideal, they're not white enough or they're not
Mhm.
blonde enough. And suddenly you lose all the privilege, you're no longer wanted.
Oh my goodness. So they got the
Mm.
native speaker, young and energetic, but there's one more. Hold on. Attractive.
Oh.
Hey, and I'm
You
just
see
reading.
that?
This is a post. I mean, I'm not actually making it up. I mean, this is a post that I actually have here in front of me. It says
Oof.
young and energetic, attractive. What exactly do
Notice
you
how
want in
there
the
are
classroom?
no Exactly. Notice how there are basically no teaching qualification is required. You don't need anything to be a teacher. You just need to be young and have the right passport and be attractive, and be
What
the
is
right
that?
person. But
Exactly.
no one speaks, no one asks you about your teaching
Hmm.
qualification. Have you ever, have you finished school at least, or have you set your exam, or did you at least do I don't know, a CELTA course or a TEFL course?
Hmm.
None of this matters unless you are a certain
Yeah, yeah.
image that people
Exactly.
are
That's all. That's all you
expecting
need.
you to be. That's all you need. And that's
And
what infuriates me the best. It is infuriating that we are reducing the whole profession to this
yes.
stereotype image thing, because it's like, how are you supposed to work? Even yourself, how are you supposed to comparing yourself to another American dude who just, fresh out of college, wanted to see the
Hmm.
world, come into the country and immediately, boom, he's employed, he's gotten the job. Even compared to you, like none of all the hours of studying that you have done,
Exactly.
all the hours of teaching that you have been doing, like none of it matters because you're
Nothing.
both American. How do you,
Exactly. How can you do that? And I mean, that's one of the problems that we have right now, and that's why this episode, I actually accepted the episode that you told me that you just advised me to do because it's really important. I already have some episodes about this type of thing called nativisms, native
Mhm,
speakerism,
mhm.
natives versus non-native or passport or whatever. So I already have it, but I think it's better actually to have more people to talk about it. Not
Oh,
because we want
absolutely.
to actually go against others, because this is not actually a problem of native speakers. This is a
Mhm.
problem of the system itself that is actually bringing
Yeah.
all these up and making a mess. And what are they doing is just excluding people just based on their own thinking about, like, okay, this is good and this is bad. Colonialism still exists. They believe
It
because they
does.
colonize, okay, they got the right to teach everything because they know,
Mhm.
and it's not part of it. It's not the point. So the perception is actually go in a different way. Now it's
No,
everything going
absolutely.
wrong.
Um, Absolutely. I don't know. I often think about this, and I've actually, since last time we talked, I've I've actually received a piece of advice from a close friend of mine when I was, that was one of the things that I was really frustrated, and I started talking about my frustration. And she was like, why do you do this? You know that you cannot fight this discrimination. There's nothing you can change. The only thing you could possibly do is just, get out of the industry, and then there would be no discrimination at all.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right to me to kind of to give up all the things and just pretend that it doesn't exist,
Hmm.
or getting away from the industry and pretending that there's no discrimination because you are not discriminated against.
Exactly. So here's the thing.
Um,
This is what we got.
oh
What
yeah.
can we do to fight back?
I think
The
I
Holy
think
Grail.
reasonable thing that we could do, it starts from the bottom up, and it's kind of, you could talk to your students, you could talk to parents of your students, you could talk to your colleagues, because not many people realize. I met a lot of non-native speaker teachers who do not see that as a problem, and then I say, well, how do you feel about being discriminated? And then they would say, I'm not discriminated. I mean, it's like, it's normal. Like, well, you are. This is a
Exactly.
discrimination. That's what it's called. um but yeah, talking to people, just basically talking to everyone, and just saying that this is not okay, this is not right.
Hmm.
And if we reach some kind of, if we reach this point where there would be many voices talking about this problem, probably something is going to change up there. But for now, what we can do is, like, yeah,
Keep
working with our
spreading.
colleagues. keep spreading the word, talking to our students, speaking about it in the social media. I think it's always, it has been in the industry, this discussion, it has been there for quite some time. So people are more and more aware of these practices. I think another thing that you might do, if you know that your language school has these practices of discriminating against other teachers, you might bring it up. You could speak about this. I have a good friend of mine who was asked to lie about her nationality in the school because they wanted to sell her as a neonatal. Well, she was not asked to lie per se, but she was asked not to mention her nationality, because she's blonde and blue-eyed, and they would just say, "Don't say you're Polish. Don't that's." No, it's okay.
Wow.
Natasha is such a common name, we wouldn't say you're Polish, and you please don't say that. So if you are aware of these practices, you might come up to any management you have, to director of studies, school director, management in general, and just talk to them. Tell them that it's not okay, that you are not, that you don't feel right, knowing that you receive less money than someone else with a similar qualification.
Exactly, and that's one of the other problems. They receive actually less money, but the ones who actually don't have anything, I mean, barely a TEFL, 120 hours, and they actually get to have a lot of money, $4,000,
get to have
$5,000. But the one who's actually black, he just get $700. I've seen it.
I know that is really, really, really sad, and I think in general, like teaching is not the profession that people take up for money. And one of the reasons is that, English teaching is often regarded as a summer job, for the kids from Britain want to see the world, and they are probably be happy to work for a minimal amount of money. They would probably be happy to do that because they are young and free and they just travel and see the world. But what about us? What about the people who decided to stay in the profession in the long term? Like,
Exactly.
how are we supposed to, make a living with this amount of money? Nah.
Impossible. And I totally feel you.
Mm.
It is what it's happening, and I've seen it, and I've noticed that when I was working in Russia, I felt it and I saw it also here in Asia as well. So it's not something that it's just focused in one specific part of the globe. No,
It's
but it's
everywhere.
mostly seen and more openly in certain areas. Yes. And that's what actually happens here with these teachers that I have, that I met. I mean, they're really good. They're really good teachers. However, here's the other thing, and I want to know what you think about this, because this is not only about native or non-native speakers, but it's basically about the ones who know, or the ones who don't know that much. For example, if I have non-native teachers, what are they doing to train their language? What are they doing to sound more professional? Are they working on their skills to be taken seriously as well? Because that's another part. If you have non-native speakers, fine. But what happens with those non-native speakers that are not training enough and they cannot even get to a conversation or sound better, or training in their phonics or in their spelling or whatever? They're not training enough.
But I think
And
it's
this is
tied up
what
to the question of proficiency. If you would allow me, it's kind of like, it's I think it works both sides. It's not enough to be a good teacher. If you're a language teacher, you are supposed to be proficient in the language that you're teaching.
Exactly.
So it's but it's I think to me it comes naturally. It comes with the job. You're supposed to do this. How
Exactly.
like how would I teach physics if I'm not, if I don't know anything about physics myself?
Right.
How am I supposed to do that?
And that's one of the biggest problems that actually I faced in Asia as well. because I've
Mm,
noticed that most of the teachers in China, I'm going to talk straight to the country, China. I mean, they
mhm,
got good teachers, but the thing is that they don't work enough
mm.
for their vocabulary or for their speaking proficiency or in how to
Well, there might
develop the
be.
language. They stop doing this type of a training, like continuous
Mm,
learning and all that. I mean, they stop doing that, and they believe that most of these things are just about learning a word.
mm,
Just word, and that's perfect. That makes you a good teacher because you know the word. But what about your output? They don't know. They cannot actually
mm,
communicate properly with other teachers or native speakers. And
mm,
here's the other problem actually, because of this type of situation, most of the people in the system, schools, directors, deans, or whatever, principals, they all are like, okay, we got this teacher, but it's not good enough.
mhm,
So
mhm.
here comes the other point, right?
Here comes another point. I might consider different reasons for why it might be happening. Definitely there's a point of disillusionment when you realize that you cannot make a sustainable living with this career. There is a point when schools and language schools, they just they do not provide teachers with professional development, either language one or teaching. Um, I think I have faced this problem is that you are forced to be teaching so many hours that you do not have enough time to actually work on yourself and on your
Mhm.
personal or professional development. You don't have the time for this. You don't have the resource. But that's
And
I
the
don't know
money.
what again, it's tied up to this question like who is supposed to be a good teacher? Well, a good teacher is someone who knows how to teach and who is proficient in the language. That is it. This is as simple as that. Like, do you know the subject? If you do, okay, can you transfer it? Like, could you transfer your knowledge to someone else? That what makes a good teacher. But
Hmm.
it's kind of if any of this is not in balance, then you're just not a good teacher. You're not proficient. Well, okay, maybe you would do a better job working in other subject. I don't know. If you're not a good teacher, then again, maybe that's not the job for you. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of teachers are forced to be working very long hours, and we are not particularly given a possibility to work on our personal or professional skills. I had to ask for a non-paid vacation to take my CELTA course, and I paid it out of my own pocket. No one
Hmm.
provided me, no one subsidized the course for
Yes.
me,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's you're on your own. You want to take a month off. I mean, why would you do that? But okay, go if you want. So it
Exactly.
usually it comes from place inside. It's not
Yes.
imposed on the teachers. So
Yeah, that's the other reality. But that's why I was actually mentioning this because this is also another issue. Why
hmm
non-native teachers are actually also misjudged in their ability to
mm,
speak English. This is another issue. This is one of the other issues, the other side of the coin. I'll say, yeah, the ads are not
hmm
good. Ads are not good,
hmm
and I'm totally against that. And people might actually call me that I'm a fighter or I'm annoying on LinkedIn. But every time I actually see these type of ads, I immediately go, is it allowed
report
to
report
non-native speakers or something
exactly.
like it? And they
This
stop
is
talking.
disgraceful. Right. This is
So I do
disgraceful.
it. I do
Absolutely.
it. But on the other hand,
hmm
I would like to actually just advise all those non-native teachers that are still actually on the way that they want to actually succeed in this career and they want to just spread the positivity and spread all how the language actually works and keep teaching. Keep developing the language. Keep working on it. Never stop.
No,
If you
I
cannot
I do
actually pay
agree
a
with you that
course,
you
keep
have
going
to.
little by little.
Right. Yeah, you have to. You have to. But I think to me, well, as I said, I think it connects very closely to the reality that we have right now is that teaching is not sustainable.
Mhm.
You are forced to be working very long hours to make a living out of this. And one of the reasons why that happens, because it's perceived as a summer job for a
Yes.
graduate kids, because
Yes.
it's something that you might do on your trip. because you wanted to see the world, because you were a backpacker and you were ready to work for $10 an hour. How am I supposed to be working for $10 an hour? How am I supposed to make a living out of this? I mean, this is not realistic, but a lot of teachers are forced into these conditions, into this system, and the competition is so strong that you accept whatever you're given.
Yeah.
And you don't have the resource, you don't have this place in you to go out and to develop your language because you're teaching 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
So
what time are you gonna start like taking care of your own language skills, right? How are you gonna do it? How are you gonna learn? Yeah, it's true. I mean, but this is why actually I'm telling you this, because this is the other side of this. Yes, we got a problem actually in the system itself, and then we gotta keep battling that. And here's the problem: we gotta keep pushing it forward, and say, okay, stop there, don't do it. Let's keep working together. Natives, non-natives, it's not a problem. You
Absolutely.
are good in a language. Keep doing that. But this is another problem. If you work on yourself, it's hard. And I know it's
But I
hard.
think it's just, to my mind, you're shifting this responsibility on the teachers, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like if these schools and language institutions, if we could, if they could, all this budget that they have on acquiring, on hunting native speakers, if you could spend it on developing your local teachers, if you could help them, if you could send them to courses, if you would organize things for them, if you would invite them to conferences, and it's kind of like, if you would help them, you are going to receive a very grateful, very educated, qualified local teacher.
Yes.
But instead, the school keep on, they keep on hunting native speakers as this magic grail, like, this is what we want. And we are ready to pay more.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I actually agree with that one as well. It's true. It happens. But how can we just go against the river current? We go up, but the river goes down. Just like, sometimes I think the best thing is that to keep working on us. It's true.
Yeah.
School needs to take responsibility on the local teachers. But if they don't do, we gotta do something for ourselves, because it's also ourselves. And stand up and say, okay, you know what? If you cannot give me a proper training, I have a training. At least do not deduct the hours that I'm not gonna be here, because I'm gonna be attending something that will help me. And at this, in the same point, I'm gonna be helping kids to be better.
From the perspective of a non-native teacher, I have to tell you this, that unfortunately in the industry as it is of today, you're never going to be enough. And that's another reality for us.
Yes.
It's like, no matter how many qualification and how many proficiency tests and how many IELTS I have taken, I'm not going to be seen as near native because of my origins, because of my passports. So what you say is valid, but also keep that in mind, that we work twice as hard, but we are never regarded as equals.
Yes.
Never. I mean, it's a good idea, and you could potentially, you could advertise and market yourself as a non-native speaker. That perfectly. You could talk about your services, but it takes a lot of courage to go out there into the market and talk about yourself in this way. So I don't know. I feel like this is the reality many of us are facing nowadays, is that you are never going to be enough.
Yeah.
Even if you work hard on yourself. And I feel that your frustration with these teachers, I could understand them. It comes from this disillusionment of, like, I cannot fight the system. I'm never going to be good enough, no matter the hours that I'm training.
And that's where we'll pause for now. What you just heard wasn't an easy conversation, but it was a necessary one. Because behind every classroom door, behind every smiling teacher photo on a brochure, there's a story that deserves to be heard. A real story. If this episode made you think, made you reflect, or made you question the way our industry works, then don't stay silent. Share it. Talk about it. Let's keep this dialogue alive. Remember to follow the Languages Pedagogy Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whenever you listen, so you don't miss part 2 of this conversation, where Anna and I dive even deeper into what can actually be done to change the system and empower teachers from every corner of the world. Until next time, keep teaching with purpose, keep learning with passion, and keep believing in the power of your voice.